Hi guys, and welcome to Belize. I believe this is already the 6th country that I'm visiting here in Central America on my trip. I came here all the way from Guatemala, Flores to be exact, and for once this was quite a short journey and the border crossing also went really well. First of all, let me start with that. From Flores, I got a shuttle to San Ignacio, which was included in my TCAL tour offer. I grabbed my takeaway breakfast again from the hostel. It was only a short ride until they told us to get off the bus, grab our bags, and go through the border control. Got my exit stamp for Guatemala from a woman who really loves her job. Not. And now we need to enter Belize. That was super easy. We got a form to fill in on the shuttle and we filled it all out. Once you get to the immigration station of Belize, they tell you whichever one is not right or needs more information, and then we got the stamp in no time. So it doesn't cost anything to enter, but you pay about $20 when you exit. And then we got a bracelet from the shuttle, so these people who are now on the other side of the border recognized me and I found my shuttle straight away. Most people went straight to Key Calker, so it was just me and a couple going to San Ignacio. Now I have made it to the Old House, which is an amazing hostel here in San Ignacio, Belize. This is still quite close to the Guatemalan border. This hostel is so well equipped, from the kitchen to the bathroom. It has anything you could wish for. Here in San Ignacio, you can visit Mayan ruins, go and see waterfalls, but I am staying close to town. On Saturdays, there is a big market here in town. We love a free cultural experience, so on Saturday morning I went to the local market. After having a look at the fresh fish, I discovered what else was being sold here. I ended up buying some fruits and also some pupusas for dinner tonight, and I had the most amazing lunch. You have no idea how much I have been craving coconut shrimp and rice and beans. Ever since we've had it in Panama and Costa Rica, I've just been wanting more, and I haven't found it really, or it has been super expensive, and finally I found some decent coconut shrimp. Then in the afternoon I went and visited the Iguana sanctuary. I must admit I was a bit more scared than I had expected. Like, usually I'm good with them being around, like at an archaeological site or whatever, but touching them just went a bit too far for me. I did manage to get one on my head, but that was about as far as I could go. Something about their anatomy just triggered my phobia of snakes really badly, but it is definitely worth checking out, and we learned a lot about the iguanas. The Green Iguana Conservation Project is located in the garden of the San Ignacio Resort. You can sign up at the reception every hour and a guide will show you around. After a short introduction, it was time for us to meet the inhabitants of the conservation project.
The big Gomez, that's Gomez.
Hey,
Gomez is the only male so far in captivity, and he's the only domesticated male. He was confiscated by the forestry department. He was kept as a pet in a very bad condition. They use him to get money out of Gomez. They put him to fight with other males. Males are very territorial. Very territorial. They will end up killing each other just because of territory.
They are being bred in captivity because the eggs have a much lower chance of hatching and surviving in the wild. And they are a threatened species, mostly because they used to be caught to be eaten. They also call the green iguana a bamboo chicken. There are only 3 friendly iguanas who won't be reintroduced into the wild.
You go close to them, sis, and if they don't pop out, they're friendly.
Okay.
This is Peach.
Somebody climbed out?
Somebody climb out, yes. So we collect your first batch of eggs, the mothers get released back into the wild. There's 10 girls, 1 male. we have to keep the males apart. We do not do inbreeding.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
the shed, she's turning into a more mature color.
Then it was time to meet the smallest ones. All of these are friendly, maybe even a bit too friendly.
And how
We're
many?
hatching 120 every year, and we do normally separate. These are only 11 months. And then from those 120, we normally separate 10 of them. Climb up on your head.
Oh my gosh.
Let them climb.
Oh, there they go.
Look at this.
Okay.
Okay, turn around.
Iguana, that's a iguana.
An iguana crown.
Yeah,
five
that's
up
a
there?
very- Yeah, she has a bunch of them.
Want to put it on my head? One of them? Oh.
Yeah, you can put
Oh, God.
another
Oh,
one.
God. Oh, God.
Okay, don't worry. Try to remain calm. Try to remain very secure. Yeah, don't worry. Don't worry.
I was not a fan of touching them, but somehow they did convince me to give that a try. After seeing feeding time, I spotted a black iguana on my way back to the hostel. Tomorrow I am being picked up at 7:40 a.m. to go to the ATM caves. ATM is an abbreviation of this. Thank God for technology. And this is basically a cave system that was used by the Mayans to give sacrifices to the gods, and there are human remains that are still preserved, but also pottery from the sacrifices, etc. Unfortunately, I cannot film inside of the caves, but I will see what I can do. We were picked up at the hostel and drove for about an hour to reach the checkpoint of the ATM cave. We got geared up and left everything, even our phones, behind. After the tour, we got lunch and drove back, and I walked around the city one last time before returning to the old house. Here's my thoughts on the excursion. Right, so what was the excursion like? What are my thoughts about it? And is it worth the hefty price tag of $100 US? Well, it was definitely a one-of-a-kind activity. There is nothing like it in the world. When we arrived, we first had to walk for about half an hour to the entrance of the caves, even passing through rivers up to our chests in the water. Then we first made our way through the wet parts of the cave, walking through the crystal clear water among the pink and glistening rocks. It was honestly so beautiful. After walking for a while, we reached the dry chambers. We had to climb out of the wet part onto a natural platform from where the dry chambers began. Here we had to leave our shoes and continue barefoot. The Mayans had created steps in these rocks so that it would be easier for them to climb, so you are actually walking in the footsteps of the Mayans, which is just insane. Our guide was incredible. He was so knowledgeable about the archaeological and anthropological facts. He really is a specialist in just everything about this. He could tell us how the pottery was used, why it's covered in charcoal, how the caves used to look with the light of a fire burning, the shadows that they used to interpret, and even the stalactites that they kind of modified in order to look like the god of rain, who they were sacrificing to, because they were going through a period, a pretty long one, with a lack of rain, so the crops weren't growing. You can see how everything from broken pottery to finger bones has been calcified, and after seeing this in the first dry sacrificial chamber, you continue on to what seems to be a huge natural hall that you walk to up until the end of the hall, and then you climb into the last and most special chamber. Here, once again, you climb onto the steps that the Mayans made into a much smaller chamber, and here you can see two skeletons of people that were sacrificed against their will. The reason why you can't take cameras on this excursion is because a tourist dropped his camera on one of the skulls of the two skeletons in that chamber. So now it has a hole in it, but actually it makes it possible to see the difference between the calcification and the skull itself, which for nerdy me is actually pretty cool. Also, as someone who has seen pretty much every single murder mystery anything under the sun, standing in front of an actual murder victim was quite bizarre. Actually standing there and seeing a real-life murder victim for once. I grew up watching CSI and Bones instead of watching cartoons because my mom didn't like the cartoon voices, so I've always grown up with murder and murder victims, and to be in front of one was bizarre. We then exited the same way that we got in, and I'm so glad that I did this excursion because I have visited almost every single pre-Columbian archaeological site, like the Mayans, the Aztecs. I've been to see the ruins from Mexico all the way down to Tikal in Guatemala, and although I love to see the temples, etc., you do just see the rocks there, whereas in this cave, you actually see what the people did. You actually see what the life of the Mayans was like what they did, and not just where they lived. So all of these visits I've done to see the temples, this one really completed all of that. Like, it makes the whole thing just make sense. How the Mayan Empire came to an end because of the lack of rain. How so many of these Mayan cities came to decline and came to an end because of the lack of rain. And then seeing how they went about it. And it feels like you're right there with them experiencing it. So I would say it is 100% worth it. And so does everyone that has done it. Like, people are saying that this is one of the best things they've ever done. It was also the first recommendation I got when I arrived in Panama. So I knew I had to visit the ATM caves, and I'm really glad I did. I'm still sad I can't show you any videos about this, but hopefully you'll get to see it in real life one day. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. If you did, then definitely give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. The next video is about Keycaulker in Belize, and it is my favorite place in the world so far. So if you don't want to miss it, definitely subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next videos. Bye!